did print it.
Good job.
I just want to know if the pigs got shown or not.
We're streaming live now, and the pigs did get shown. They did well. One daughter did better than the other in market, and the other one did better in showmanship.
Yeah, I got grandkids that do pigs too.
All right, so it is 1:35. We are on the record. It is Friday, July 29th, 2022. And this is time for the fiscal year 23 tentative budget community input meeting. We also have a continued meeting to review the fiscal year 23 tentative budget scheduled at this time as well. I am Commissioner Smith, also present is Commissioner White and Van Beek, Jen and Ross, our deputy clerk, joining us. And we are going to kick this meeting off. Since the last time we had a community input meeting, we had not received the clerk's suggested budget yet. And so the purpose of this meeting was we did get all of those budgets comparative to the requested and his suggested. And we are taking community input on that budget for our consideration on the adopted or on the tentative budget. So with that, at this time, we only have one person signed up to testify, which is David Bergman. And you have experience with adopting county budgets. So we look forward to hearing your input.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is David Bergman, 2419 West Heron Loop in Nampa. And it has been interesting listening to the input over this week and with some knowledge. However, today's events are a lot different. I'll just tell you, as county commissioners, you got a big plate full, especially when you got a federal government out of control. Coming on the heels of COVID and all these other things, I know that you're dealing with many other items that I didn't have to deal with. We only had to deal with, we had no money. And when you have no money, it's pretty easy to say, we can't spend anything. And we had some elected officials, and we still have some of those elected officials that sacrificed many things in their budgets in order to make things pencil out, because we had fund balances. That's what we had. And I've heard a lot of talk about fund balances. I think you do have to have some of those because you don't really know. I think it was Commissioner White that said, you will not know what B budgets are going to cost a year from now. We don't know. Well, I think Commissioner White said, what are tires going to cost? You don't know those things. I know that Mark does a great job. I was relating some of those stories to our sheriff in a hallway meeting about, we went to Salt Lake and bought their used police vehicles in order to fill our fleet and saved a great deal of money. I saw one item, $100,000 for a pickup today. I mean, that's just, it's crazy time, on costs and whether or not you can even get them with the correct microchips in order to make them work. So I know there's just a lot more things going on. I would just say that I'm very pleased to hear the input from our sheriff and from our, you, the commissioners, that you are concerned with what the total overall cost is. I would say that I'm not sure that Commissioner Van Beek's thoughts on as her, and I appreciate Van Beek's concern for balancing the budget on A and B. I'm not sure how that would work, just simply because of the things that you've all talked about. But I do know this, there's, as far as the overall budget, the groups that I belong to, they are concerned with the amount of budgets, not only from the county, but I think our clerk said it well in his presentation, which I listened to. The tax, the amount of property tax that the county has taken over the years, people don't realize it's fees, it's all of those things that really balance that budget. I think you have to take a good hard look at that and make sure you keep money in people's pockets. Otherwise, nobody's going to pay the bills. But the clerk did make note that the other taxing districts, at least 63, they were when I was here, maybe there's more, at least, well, we've got another fire district, so, there's probably 64 taxing districts. Those people are not making a difference. So as much as I appreciate what our Kennedy County Clerk Yamamoto is trying to propose and appreciate, I think that the citizens know that it's going to cost them something for the services that the county provides. I do believe, after hearing the sheriff's comments on 17 people down in the jail, I know that I've got a group of people that work in and around and try to help in the past few years in the jail. And it is, that's something that I don't know how you fix that. I think it's true across the state, but I do know that, in my opinion, the budget needs to be as low as possible. If you could use some of that fund balance to look at the jail situation. I know that, having been a part of those things, we could have saved a lot of money if we'd all had the same dispatch center for Nampa and the county. And we attempted that. When the citizens didn't pass that bond for the Jerome property out on Caldwell Boulevard, that went away. And so there are some things that I think Nampa and the county and some of the other cities could help if you could all get on the same page. My feeling is keep the budget as low as possible. Look at other ways to save money. And we've got some great department heads. We've got some great elected officials that know that I think this is a year, and this is my last statement, this is a year that we're seeing a lot of change. I happen to be in the commercial real estate consulting business now, and I can tell you that the appraisers that I talk to tell me that next year is going to be a whole different ballgame. So I think 2023 is going to be a turning point. I think we have to be very careful, and if you could lower even the budget that you're proposed, concentrating on the full-time positions, as Commissioner Smith has stated, that you do have to have the people in order to make it work. Don't know how you solve that, but anyway, thank you for the opportunity to make my comments.
I have a question. What specifically do you think about the suggested budget for the not collecting the property tax?
I don't agree with that, just because of one of the things that Clerk Yamamoto did state, and that the individual taxpayer is not going to really see any change. And it has to do with the other taxing districts. And I believe that if you've got an opportunity, you've got, I don't know what the number is going to end up, but $40 million in property tax, that certainly could go a long way to providing. I don't know what you're going to do. I hear you talking about a new administrative building, and we know what the jail and we know what that public safety building was going to do several years ago, and that was provide for a new administrative facility. So I do know this, having spoken with county facilities people over the last couple of years, you're out of space. And so that to me that's a serious problem. You got to have places for people to work.
Here's what I'll say about the admin building. I think that if we, and I won't be here next year, but I hope they're able to get it started because the sheriff is out of space. I know that he has the same amount of room that he had, or my dad had when he was there, and they have grown. And so a big part of funding the new jail included new administrative space for them. And so we also have heard a lot of community input to keep the jail here somehow, somewhere. So maybe administration building will alleviate part of kind of a down payment on the jail because we can do the administration building now and get those services all centrally located in one building and still provide an opportunity for the rest of the county offices to have that needed space. We heard from the TCA yesterday, and these are blurring together on the really critical need for court spaces to expand. And so there's a lot of needs, and I agree with comments.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Navy?
thank you for being here today. I did want to have a point of clarification. My suggestion on the B budget was to make sure that the line items balanced in the notes. It's simple math, really, when you're looking at having those numbers balance and accurately reflect the trends. My proposal is not to use the fund balance for long-term funding of salaries because that is not possible to sustain in the long run. So just a clarification on your comments. Thank you.
Okay. I would say that I happen to be part of, as I mentioned, a couple of groups that are concerned. One of the first priorities is definitely taking care of that jail. And we know there's been a lot of changes over the last couple of years just on what's first priority for the prosecutors. But definitely that is a concern in the community and the number of dollars in all the budgets. I don't want to speak on behalf of NAMPA, but their budget is their proposed budget is $290 million. And so those of us that live in the Treasure Valley, live in the NAMPA taxing districts, that's a huge part of the problem that the clerk was talking about is citizens are not going to get an opportunity to see a great benefit from his proposal. However, you have to fund the county's budget as well, and I appreciate your comments, Commissioner.
Madam Chair. One more in response to that, Dave. Thank you for the opportunity of bringing that up. We did meet with the ambulance district yesterday, and Chief Stoll had some very interesting and enlightening comments regarding the zero property tax. He honored that request last year. He did say that it was unsustainable for the ambulance district to do that, and it will be unsustainable for citizens going forward. Your point that there should be an amount for services charged is, I think, good fiscal management of resources. They are going to have to take 3% new construction in all of the foregone to continue to provide services for Canyon County citizens. And I would submit that doing a staged approach, even a $10 million reduction in the property tax to $44 million, it's close to what your number was, would provide the same tax bill for most people that it did last year. And then you would have that reserve. It's also important to note that their question was asked if our reserve includes the enterprise funds. It does. So you would have to subtract whatever's left, approximately $22 million in there. So headed into what is now making the news as a recession, to drain the county's reserves in subsequent years, you're right, I think 2022-23 is going to be different. To have the county poised to potentially hold those taxes lower for 1 or 2, maybe 3 years, I think is a strategy worth looking at in the fairness, the best interest of the taxpayer, because to come back and have that boomerang effect is not going to be popular.
Can I do a follow-up?
Go ahead.
Sure. Okay, you were mentioning the fund balance included the enterprise fund from the landfill Is that what you were saying?
That is what I said,
Okay,
because
all
that
right.
information was queried to the clerk this week during the budget meetings, and that was what was stated.
Obviously, the enterprise fund at the landfill really, it may, as you stated, if that's in the overall fund balance, obviously it can only be used for the landfill, other than the administrative costs that we charge for the great service from the clerk's office. So I understand. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, thank you. Looks like the rest of our audience is all staff and elected officials. Anyone want to provide community input on behalf of yourself? All right. Well, we were streaming this live, so we will conclude the community input meeting since there is not any other testimony. And now